What's the thing we both do every day to be more sustainable? You go first.
Good question. You know, I think it's about intentionality and mindset. So I think for a lot of us, we can easily do of just setting the intention in the morning, right? If I wake up every morning, do I want to start the shower and let it run while I get ready to choose my clothes? Or do I want to reduce water and say, let me find my clothes first and then turn on the shower and then go in and do my thing? Yeah, I think it's about that mindset.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's just a habits a lot of times. So developing those habits, the shower is a really good, not everybody thinks about saving water, but we live in California, so we really think about it a lot. Yeah, every morning I do think before I leave the house, no matter where I'm going, take my water bottle, take my coffee cup, take my make sure my grocery bags are with me, my produce bags. So I do think of all those things. And then in my own house, I just have a lot of habits that I've developed. Like I don't use paper towels. I use dish rags, and I wash my clothes on cold. So it's really just developing habits, and then sort of every day sort of intentionally making sure you're living that way.
And I think too, like the idea of upcycling food waste is such a great idea. Like a lot of people, when they make their morning meals or their lunch, their dinners, they have so much left over, or they have food pulp left over. And I tell them, you know, you could just actually repurpose that into the next meal for the next day, because a lot of us personally love to snack. And I think that like using, you know, food pulp from like juicing and something to use crackers or to make baked goods, it's like a snack on the go. And I think that a lot of us sometimes think, oh, let's just throw away these food scraps. But these food scraps are actually sources to eat.
So important. And also, I think when you plan your meals, or when you think, what am I going to eat today, you look at what you have already first. You always start with, what are your leftovers? Can I eat them as is? Can I change them a little? But it's never a good idea to like just blindly think, what do I want to eat? And then go make that happen.
Yeah.
It's got to start with what ingredients you have and what you need to use up.
Yes, exactly.
Next.
You know, I really love this question. I used to work at a zero waste store, and the answer is depends on the geographic region you're in. I think here in the United States, the UK, we're overheated. It's almost hard because we've been ingrained to live with plastic our entire lives, whether that's the medical usage, whether that's our own kitchen usage or our own personal usage. Like, it is almost impossible to escape plastics, but it is possible to reduce the amount of plastics that you have in your home.
Yes, and I think also there are technological advances that will replace some plastics and that will serve the purpose that they serve in a different way. And I think it's a valiant effort to try, you know, to replace plastic with glass and et cetera, et cetera. But even like bringing a reusable water bottle into the venue, oftentimes they'll only let you bring an Nalgene or some kind of plastic water bottle. So I think it's noble, and I wish we could. I don't think we're going to be there. But I think the technological changes, we may get satisfactory replacements for those.
Yes.
That's fingers crossed. Biodegradable replacements, et cetera.
You know, this is such a good question. You know, there's actually a lot of cooling methods that you can do in your own home. So one thing I learned actually when I moved to the East Coast is that late at night, make sure to have all your windows open and so let that cold air to go in. In the early morning, you want to make sure you close all your windows, and that actually captures all the cold air that was in and actually cools your home down. And I actually realized this when I actually tried it 2 different times where I left my window open the entire day and it was just so hot, where I closed it early in the morning and it was actually cool, and I didn't have to use the AC. So those are really interesting.
It's really true,
things.
and also just covering your windows with dark blankets, etc. I mean, my kids grew up in a house where we were always like covering all the windows to save electricity. And of course, if you can afford to have solar energy, it makes a huge difference to know that you are creating that as well. And I think if the government would subsidize solar programs even more so that everybody could have solar. There's a great organization called Grid Alternatives that puts solar on low-income housing. But also, I grew up in the 70s, so my father was just like, turn off the lights, turn off the lights. Just don't leave a room without turning off the light switch. You know, unplug your appliances. In the UK, you're lucky because you have those little switches that turn it on.
Yeah,
the US, we have to
they really are.
Them. But just be mindful, and especially the lights.
Mm-hmm.
What do you eat in a day?
What do you eat in a day, Isaias?
Okay, so, you know, have my standard 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I would say breakfast, I start off with some toast or oatmeal. You know, it's really easy to make toast. I grew up with it, peanut butter, jelly, it's the go-to.
It's a bomb.
And then for lunch, I would say that I often into pasta if it's like a very busy day, because I think that you're able to simultaneously cook and do work. And so just making a homemade pesto with some walnuts, lemon, some cilantro, and just making the easy sauce when you can just save plastic usage. And then I think for dinner, I kind of finish off just like using baked vegetables. So like anything eggplant related or potatoes are really easy to put in the oven, let it bake for 30 minutes. So I'm someone that's very like, like you said, plan your meals, but also trying to get creative. So every day it's like kind of like what's going to go to rotting soon, so maybe I should use it, or what can I save right now?
It's like you create your own game show, your own show. Like, exactly. I have these 3 ingredients. What can I make with it? I do that all the time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people always think it's about, presentation style, but I always tell people if the food is good, that's all that matters. I'm personally still working on my presentation style, my food. My friends make fun of me, but, the food tastes really great, and they always say, you need to work better on your presenting style. So it happens.
I have 2 different ways I eat. When I'm on tour with Billie, I'm unbelievably lucky. If we're in the venue, we have all vegan catering, and it's amazing. Pretty much eat 2 meals a day, so get off the bus or get up and eat, kind of wait to eat and eat lunch, about 1 or 2. I always start with soup because there's amazing soup, and I love soup. And soup is a great way to get lots of vegetables in your diet really fast, so I love soup. And then there's an array of salads that are just spectacular, and then some mains, and then the same for dinner. It's really unfair. But when I'm home, I still kind of stick with the 2 meal a day thing. I often eat this is extreme, but I cook a lot, so I make a lot of vegan pancakes, French toast, muffins, those kind of things. Scrambled tofu I make all the time.
Yum.
All the time. Make scrambled tofu into vegan burritos. I often just eat plain oats because I like them plain with some almond milk, raw. Just raw. I don't even let it soak. And some blueberries. And then for dinner, I usually focus somehow on a vegetable, and it's 99% of the time broccoli, to be honest. And I cook something that sort of surrounds a vegetable like broccoli. It's either noodles or it's potato or another vegetable. I often eat tofu because I love tofu.
It's so diverse, tofu, that you're
anything
able to
with
do anything.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
like the
it.
one thing I'll want to have if I'm stranded in an island is tofu.
Yeah. Is it sustainable to make your own clothing? That is a great question. I wish we had Samada here, but I happened to ask her about this question the other day because I was wondering, when you're buying fashion, you're looking for certain things. So, but what about when you're making fashion? So, I think that it can be very sustainable. Again, you would like to look for fabrics that are either organically grown natural fibers, or I also think if you're looking for dead stock fabric, a lot of fabric stores have fabric that is basically going to go into the landfill, so you can look for that kind of fabric. Ask a lot of questions in the fabric stores, and they'll in the higher end fabric stores they probably know. In other fabric stores they may not, but might motivate them to find out. But I think it's definitely sustainable. Again, you want to make something that you will wear a lot, because that is always what matters, because it is going to have an end life to it.
Yes.
Something's going to happen to it eventually, and you do have to think about that.
Yeah, I would say to produce your own clothing as an individual is very difficult unless you're a brand or a business that kind of understands the landscape. But in terms of shopping, I always tell people ask yourself, would you wear this t-shirt for the next 3 years? Mm-hmm. Often at times you'll say, no, I would not look I don't want to wear this when I'm 30, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the times I tell people, choose clothing that you feel the most comfortable in, that you can culturally identify with, and that you're able to actually have options, meaning I can trade with my siblings, I can trade with my friends, normalize these types of practices so that you get to actually maximize the clothing. And also asking about, the manufacturing process, who's making the clothing, how much they're getting paid, asking yourself, where do I get these materials from, and how do I source them, and how do I pay people ethically?
Yeah. And you can also do a lot of mending. I think Samada talked on that, but getting clothes that have holes on them, doing a little bit of sewing.
Yes.
My husband always sews patches on everybody in the family's jeans. He's the patch sewer. Or embroidery over a hole, etc., can really extend the life of something, make it more sustainable.
Yeah, and
Another?
How important is it to bring people together for Overheated?
Yeah, community building means building power and building validation. I think a lot of us here that are at the O2 really are curious about plant-based eating, and we really want to learn and ask questions. And I think for younger people, if they don't have those communities available to them, it almost feels isolating. So I think we're bringing people together to actually make these connections and to actually be curious.
Yes, I should actually say this. I'm glad you asked that question because I was thinking about that. Dr. Ayanna Johnson always talks to people about having a climate squad, having a group of people that you can talk about climate with and care and share ideas. And so I'm hoping this today for many people is them finding a climate squad and finding a source where they can find about all the other amazing climate activists and what everyone's doing. They could follow Isaias, they could follow all the people who are here and form a big climate squad and know that you have Overheated, letting you know innovations, advances, policies you can ask to be changed, all the kind of activities you can do in your life and beyond. So very important.
Yeah, no, definitely.